And welcome to part 2. I haven't actually come up with a title. I think I'm probably just going to call it Blowing Your Mind. I think that's quite appropriate. And may this blow your mind. I want you to be able to see this for yourselves. And hopefully even, I'd like you to all experience this in your own way. And there's only one way you're going to be able to do that, and that's individually. So, getting back. So we'll now look at THC. Very interesting one, that one. So we're looking at we'll start with the numerology. We're looking at the 20th, the 8th, and the 3rd letter of the alphabet. And of course you discount the zeros, which is nothing. So we're left with 283. So 2 and 8 and 3 is 13. So that would be Christ and the 12 disciples, an activated pineal gland, and your 12 cranial nerves, your 12 systems, your body, and so on and so on. Of course, 13, you can also add the 1 and the 3, and you get 4, which is a symbol of, or a number associated with death, therefore going through a doorway, transformation, end of a chapter of a book, as it were, end of a birth to death experience, where you then enter into the death to birth experience again, based of course upon how your experience has gone this time round. Remember that we're talking about a realm where time is not linear, as Neville Goddard says, so you could very well find yourself reincarnated in the 1300s, for example. So that probably is why there are mind wipes, because if you had 21st century knowledge that you took back to the 13th century, what sort of influence could you affect history with in a linear timeline, for example? I'm sorry about the camera shaking here. So THC, let's have a look what it says for this. Now we're going to go for the good old fountain of all knowledge, Wikipedia. It's an article last edited, it says 8 days ago, so it's about the 20th of August. So we're talking about a week. THC is a lipid found in cannabis, assumed to be involved in the plant's evolutionary adaptation, putatively against insect predation, ultraviolet light, and environmental stress. Put that into context of how you would be affected by insect production. I mean, that's a big thing in the food industry at the moment, about bugs being used in food. Ultraviolet light, think of the chakra system, and where is the ultraviolet spectrum? I suggest it's in the heavens. The cerebrum, the Sarah Abraham, or above it even. And I've lost my place. So under, Schedule 1 of the US federal law, under the Controlled Substances Act, for having, and quote, no accepted medical use, end quote, and, quote again, lack of accepted safety, end quote. However, this is all in this Wikipedia article, however, dronabinol, interesting word that, drone-a-bin-all. What's it saying, really? However, dronabinol, a pharmaceutical form of THC, has been approved by the FDA as an appetite stimulant for people with AIDS and an antiemetic for people receiving chemotherapy under the trade names Marinol, sounds a bit watery, like marine, and Sindros. If you can't hear the word dross, which implies rubbish and sin in that, well, I can't help you. So that's THC. So let's look at the etymology of THC. Quite an interesting one. So we've got the actual full term for it is delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol. Delta 9 tetra, like tetragrammaton, three-sided pyramid. Basically what I have seen in the void, where I came from. Tetrahydro implies water, its excretions in the brain. Cannabinol. Now, interestingly, in Scotland, if you say, I cannot see that, it's often expressed as cannaby. It canna be so. It canna be true. I cannot do that. So it's implying cannot. So tetra, the D9 tetra, delta 9 tetra, cannot buy, or cannot be in organic, L being the representation of human when you are, if you're looking at the lower calf and the foot makes an L shape. Hopefully that's the right way round when you see it on the camera, but I think you get the point. Also the CBD, the cannabidiol, cannot be in idle is another interpretation I can see in this. So there's your THC and your CBD. Now the THC. T, as I have said many times before, consists of the upright, the capital I, your higher self, your higher chakras. You're in a human form, that's the H, THC. So God is seeing through the human form. Now the tetra that we're talking about here, I'm going to refer you to what's on the back of the dollar bill, that pyramid with the eye. You notice where the eye sits on that pyramid. It's not at the top. It is, if we look at your own personal heavens, it would imply the two eyes, and then to the top here, making a triangle, and then the eye would be the third eye. That is what it is showing to you. Remember, as I've said before, the system will present you things that once you can decode them and you can see past that superficiality, it opens up a whole new perception. The external world does not change, but the angle that you're coming from, your perception definitely does. Now the other big one is DMT. This is what is in the plants that the shaman use. And if you watch Reedy and the Dog's latest video, I believe he's remaking it because he's not happy with it. He has issues with the fan of the computer at the moment, so it does affect the sound, but you can always click on transcript in the description and get the wording to come up if volume is a problem. I know there's also issues for some of you with some of these videos. I am intending to address that, maybe a sort of plug-in microphone so it's clearer for you. But bear with us, we're working on limited budgets, and it's all about not pumping money into the very thing that would appear to be working against us. I'm really sorry about this camera shaking. So DMT. So that's your 4th, your 13th, and your 20th letter of the alphabet. Of course, We don't count the zeros with numerology because 0 is nothing. So you've got 4132. You've got pi in there. You've got the 432 hertz, all encoded in that. And of course, its sum total is 10, which is 0 and 1. Going back to what I showed you in the first video of, and God said, let there be light, you turned your device on and there was light. Look at the power symbol on any device. It looks like a circle with a 1 going through it. Or a seed penetrating an egg, a thought, an idea that has exploded, has blown outwards like a... Isn't it amazing how those atomic explosions that we've all seen, like the 1945 bombing of Japan, for example, and how it resembles a brain, a sort of blown mind, as it were, from the potential that's in that. Same sort of ratio, really, as this whole sort of magnetism principle. Your informed field, as Jason would say. So there's your 3 parts. So you've got, we'll just sum this up again. You've got, with CBD, you've got the number 9, the completion. So that's basically, the 9 is your Kundalini raising that Christ conscious inside oneself. The completion is the 9. It's also expressed as the crucifixion, as opposed to a science fiction. It shows you that man is raised up on that cross, but it's nailed and hasn't actually got very far. It hasn't got very high at all. It's not about the man, it's about the essence, the spirit, when you walk with Christ. When you hand over that 10% conscious mind to the Creator, when you activate the pineal gland, when you ascend the 33 vertebrae, the Jacob's ladder. The Christ was given 3 gifts, or Jesus, the baby in the story, was given 3 gifts by 3 wise men. And of course, this Jesus character in that story ends up as a wise man. He's forming the letter Y. When you attach to something in this material realm, because we're talking about a material object, a wooden cross, when you attach to a belief, because we're now talking about the psyche, the psychoanalysis of this. You nail yourself, you crucify yourself. You have to die unto yourself to resurrect. You have to raise that Christ consciousness within inside yourself. Retract that. There's no you have to. But if you are open, if you have an open mind, it gets to a point where your mind is no longer blown because you've already expanded it. It's up to you where you set that boundaries of your universe in your mind, where you decide what the limitations of what you feel is true or untrue. But of course it is all in the feeling. It's how you feel about something, what you weigh up inside yourself. Take no thought. That is going to be essential to reach that land of milk and honey, which is the excretions of the brain. So let's give you an explanation now of DMT. This is a quotations from Drug Science. It's a UK-based website, drugscience.org.uk. So DMT, and I'm going to quote, is a powerful, strong psychedelic drug with serotonin I can't even pronounce the word, serotonergic effects on the human brain, which can induce a rapid and intense psychedelic experience. Serotonergic. Well, it's referencing the cerebrum, the Sarah Abraham. It's talking about the subconscious. Serotonin is what they give people in, or they put. I believe they put through the post. The Swedish government gives Swedish people serotonin to help with the lack of daylight in the winter when you've only got 2 hours of daylight, for example. So it's all to do with the subconscious, the sleeping part, the part that becomes active when you are asleep and you begin dreaming. And of course, there's the word tone in there. So it's a tone, a sound, a frequency. So going back to quote this again. The DMT experience is usually characterized by visual hallucinations. I can't help see the word hallowed in hallucination. Frequently involving powerful entities and often associated with deeper meaning. This meaningful experience is sometimes called a DMT breakthrough. The Doors song, Break On Through to the Other Side, comes to mind. And to further quote this drug science article on the web, DMT is found naturally in a variety of plants and has a long history as a psychoactive component. Ayahuasca, a thick hallucinogenic tea, which is considered an important element of shamanic tradition in the upper and lower Amazon. Incidentally, we're not talking about the website where you can buy everything. You're expanding the wrong Amazon, not the one given to you by Earth, by nature. Interesting how they use these words in the Mirror version. Amazon rainforest, Amazon corporate. And further to quote, currently there is limited evidence supporting endogenous DMT production in humans, specifically whether DMT is produced in the brain. Then it poses further down, you can link to a sort of suggested question, I suppose supposed to be a popular question that many people have asked. Does the human brain produce DMT? Now, the answer is very interesting on this website, Drug Science. It says, and I quote, current scientific evidence to support this theory remains very limited, end quote. Just think about what I've just read there. Current scientific evidence to support this theory remains very limited. It's not telling you it isn't, it's telling you that scientific evidence is very limited, not that the evidence is very limited. This is exactly what Rudy had picked up on when he shows the extract from the Bill Donahue video called The Green Thing. Exactly the same problem that doctor found, that he's seen the evidence for himself that these shaman can heal people. There's no denying it. He has seen the evidence. But it does not fit the scientific paradigm. This is the problem. It is a very limited materialistic Newtonian mechanics view of things. Because you can't scientifically explain it, you're denying the facts of the reality that it works. This is the problem with science, which is a seance, basically. But science, and as Ken Wheeler has pointed out, remember it was a Catholic priest who came up with the whole Big Bang theory. But there's an element of truth in it. There is a grain of truth in that. It's a point source. There is a source at the point of this. It's right at the centre of that magnet in the dielectric, so small that it is nothing, and yet from it is potential to come everything. I've already proven to you with the Big Bang Theory. I feel I've covered this in this video and the previous video, and you have put this into action with these devices. You said in your mind, let there be light. You have become the creator in action. You have enacted, you are a co-creator. Whether it be a device or not is irrelevant. The devil is in the detail. But you have done that very thing. Remember also, David and Goliath, 5 small pebbles representing the 5 senses used externally, also expressed as the 5 puncture marks on Jesus in the crucifixion. 1 through each ankle bone, because you're on 2 legs, but you're one soul. The legs have a foot on the bottom of each, do they not? And on the bottom of your feet are souls, referencing that you are one soul in a dualistic world. Through the wrists or the hands, 2 nails, that gives you 4. And the spear through the side is 5. There's your 5 senses. Wounded by the external world. But the longing in us, the longiness that puts the spear into the heart, getting to the heart of the matter, is that gut feeling from the place of the sun, the solar plexus, that wants to raise up. But your own conscious mind and this system programming is denying you of who you are, who you truly are. You ever think about this? You weigh it up across these 2 videos. Refer also to Rudy and the Dog's channel, that further validates and proves the Archaics channel Phoenix rising patterns of the holographic nature of this reality and how it is palindromic with isometric markers, 1902 being the one from the equivalent of shaman and psychologists. Scientific perspective, yet again, coming from a very narrow viewpoint, not seeing the bigger picture. And it doesn't mean about going to the cinema. The bigger picture is everything that is external to you. But how you perceive it, whether you perceive it through the eyes of the deceiver, or whether you see it with the mind's eye from the activated pineal gland, that gives you an entirely different perspective. When you know, and as an observer of these thoughts, that they are only your lower conscious side that is in fight or flight mode, it's a scared child. This is why it's about loving yourself first. It's not being selfish. It's expressed in flights. If there's a problem, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first so you can help others. Oxygen is the breath, it's referring to the breath of life. You breathe life into things. The Turin Shroud is an image. It's an impression onto a material world. What it lacks is something to breathe life into it. Doesn't matter who it is. Karen on Sun and Moon Family United channel, she said I blew her mind about, because I said to her, look at that Turin Shroud image, and does that look to you like a man of 33, or does it look someone far older? And she's, wow. It looks like a knight, looks like a giant. Well, it has been measured, and apparently this, whoever it was about 6 foot, 6'2". But to me also it does look like something you would readily associate with the whole story we're told about King Arthur. More like a knight than someone who's been horrifically tortured and whipped and starved and horrifically murdered. But of course, would an all-loving creator have done that? I don't know, you decide for yourself, weigh things up, take no thought, listen to what's been said across a whole spectrum, and come to your own conclusions. And wow, we've got up to 25, almost 26 minutes. But I feel I've made the point there, maybe even planted the seeds, giving you an idea. EA again. Ironic, isn't it, how everything in this reality comes out backwards. So, as I've said before, the 27th letter of the alphabet, just look on a keypad, it's a symbol, same as the rest of the alphabet, it's the 27th one. It has to be a letter because it is a fused A and E. But it has no sound of itself, so isn't it ironic that the word that was made flesh, if it's a thought, where is the sound? Is it audible to anybody else? To an individualized, fractalized aspect of yourself? If you can appreciate that we are all one, and we've gone through a big bang, the Creator has gone through a big bang and fractalized itself. And just like a crystal chandelier, a Christ all, it's made up of many parts, reflecting light at all different angles upon itself and outwardly. I think we'll leave that there. 27, another 9. So I will say love to you all, and ta-ta for now, and I'll put the link, well, Rudy and the Dogs channel, I believe he's doing, I'll put a link to his previous video, but I believe he's going to remake that. He's not happy with it. I know how it feels, but I feel it's better to just keep going with it, and those that are meant to hear will hear, those that are meant to see will see, but we will see. Love to you all, and ta-ta for now.